Just when we thought this Sheryl Swoops drama was gonna blow over, things just got so much messier.
Just when we thought the Sheryl Swoops drama was going to cool off, bam, things just got messier. Did you hear the bombshell that dropped in women's basketball? Sheryl Swoops, Hall of Famer, three-time WNBA MVP, absolute legend, just got fired. And guess what? It all started with her comments about none other than Caitlin Clark. Oh, but that's only where the chaos begins. Rachel DeMita jumped into the mix, and let's just say things have only gotten messier. But before we get into all that, do yourself a favor, like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss a single juicy update on the WNBA. All right, back to the show. Swoops has been hating on Caitlin Clark for what feels like forever. It's like Clark is Voldemort, and Swoops is out here acting like she can't even say her name. The WNBA wasn't having it, and decided to bench the Hall of Famer for good. And just when you thought the story couldn't get crazier, in swoops Rachel DeMita, calling out Swoops and basically saying, "Girl, what is your deal? How did we go from basketball legends to full-on reality show drama?" Stick around, because you won't believe how a rising rookie star could trigger such a meltdown.
Sheryl Swoops and how she has been a certified Caitlin Clark hater for about a year now. Up until now, she has not been able to say anything nice about Caitlin Clark, nor has she been able to even speak her name. So for this specific game against the Fever, they replaced her with another WNBA legend, Nancy Lieberman.
You might be sitting there thinking, who in the world is Sheryl Swoops and why should I care? Well, let me break it down for you. Swoops is basically the Michael Jordan of women's basketball. Three-time WNBA MVP, Hall of Famer, absolute legend. So when she gets fired, it's like the basketball gods are throwing a fit. I mean, even Stephen A. Smith is out here losing his mind over it. You know it's serious when Stephen A. starts getting all worked up.
So I can understand why Sheryl Swoops would have an attitude with people who would question her professional objectivity. But I also understand why people would look at her like she's lost her ever-loving mind. Because you're literally putting the lack of professional objectivity on display for audiences to see, and then you're looking at us acting like what's wrong?
Here's where it gets truly fascinating. How does Caitlin Clark, the much talked about rising star, relate to a legendary figure being ousted from their position?
People were like, did Sheryl Swoops get fired? They took her off this game, and a lot of people were also happy about that because we don't know what her commentary would have been like with the Fever on the court.
You're definitely going to want to listen to this. Just when it seems like things can't get any more unbelievable, Rachel DeMita steps in with her thoughts, and what she has to say will completely shock you.
And so the fact that he went on about the read, talked about Nafisa, talked about Caitlin Clark, and then after that, there was like 5 or 6 seconds of literal silence because Sheryl Swoops was not jumping in. That was the point that I was like, okay, here's once again another example of Sheryl Swoops hating Caitlin Clark so much that she literally can't even say her name.
The chaos didn't kick off with Rachel DeMita. It all began on the hardwood, where a young star burst onto the scene and shook up the WNBA like a squirrel in a peanut factory. How did Caitlin Clark's jaw-dropping performances trigger a Hall of Famers tumble from the top?
It's like Caitlin Clark is the Voldemort if Sheryl Swoops was Harry Potter. Like, literally cannot say Caitlin Clark's name. It is so bizarre. Sheryl Swoops, Lisa Leslie, those women were like the gold standard of basketball. So it's just so weird to me for her to just be hating. Like, there's no other way to describe it.
You're probably wondering, how can one player cause this much chaos? Well, Caitlin Clark isn't your average baller. She's been shaking things up and stealing the spotlight from the moment she laced up her sneakers. Seriously, it's like she has a personal contract with drama and highlight reels. She's got everyone talking. And trust me, it's not just because of her jump shot.
There is no one like Caitlin Clark in the history of the WNBA. I mean, you had somebody who was the all-time leading scorer in college basketball history who plays for Las Vegas, and nobody talked about her. Nobody talked about Kelsey. Wonderful player. Nobody talked about her. Caitlin Clark is just different.
Clark has been tearing it up in her rookie season, averaging a whopping 25 points per game. I mean, that's not just good, that's move over veterans territory. But it's not just about the numbers. Clark has flipped the script for the Indiana Fever, taking a team that started with a rough 1-8 record and turning them into actual winners. Talk about a superhero cape moment. And she's not done yet. Clark just dropped a career-high 31 points on the Chicago Sky. Can you even imagine being a rookie and casually putting up numbers like that?
She buried Angel Reese in Chicago last Friday. The Fever blew out the sky. On a night when Dopey DeShields delivered 3 cheap shots, Clark posted 31 points and 12 assists in a 19-point victory. Show White exited the game to a round of applause and then sat and watched Sleazy Reese pad her stats in the final 90 seconds.
Here's where things take a wild turn. Despite Clark playing out of her mind, she wasn't picked for the Olympic team. I know, right? You're probably scratching your head thinking, how do you bench a player who's lighting it up? Some folks are saying, hey, maybe this is a blessing in disguise. It could give Clark a chance to recharge her batteries for the WNBA season. Now, I bet you're wondering, what does Sheryl Swoops have to do with this? Well, hold on to your seat because this is where the drama kicks in. Swoops, the basketball legend herself, chimed in on Clark's success. And let's just say her hot take was about as popular as pineapple on pizza.
And this is definitely not the first time that Sheryl Swoops has thrown shade or omitted Caitlin from her broadcast or from her podcast. Just last week on her podcast, her and her co-host were talking about the Indiana Fever post the Olympic break. And here's what she had to say about the Fever.
I think the Olympic break really helped Indiana. I'm going to shout out to Lexi Hull. I'm a big Lexi Hull fan. Lexi Hull shot the leather off the ball in their game against Seattle. Kelsey Mitchell is just stroking. She's just shooting the basketball. Aaliyah Boston, almost a triple-double. If Indiana continues to play the way they're playing like this, they too are going to move up in the standings, end quote. So no, Caitlin Clark.
I'm not saying these players aren't fantastic, but come on, how do you leave Clark out? Swoops didn't just raise an eyebrow at Clark's scoring records, she practically threw the whole rulebook at her. She said, if you're going to break a record, do it in the same amount of time the original player had, not with extra overtime like it's a casual pickup game. And as if that wasn't enough, Swoops added, oh, and by the way, maybe ease up on the shooting spree. There are only so many basketballs to go around.
You're going to break a record. To me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that that player set it. Well, if Kelsey Plum set that record in 4 years, well, Caitlin should have broke that record in 4 years. But because there's a COVID year, and then there's another year, you know what I mean? So she's already had an extra year to break that record. So is it truly a broken record? Yeah, that'll go in the record books as Caitlin Clark is the all-time, whatever it is. I don't even know what the number is, but that's the way it'll be.
These comments set off a firestorm, with people gossiping like it was a family reunion gone wrong. Suddenly, there's chatter about some veteran players in the WNBA feeling a little, let's say, green over Clark's meteoric rise. It's almost like there's an unspoken battle of the generations brewing. Veterans clutching their trophies while nervously eyeing Clark and thinking, who invited the new kid with all the talent? The tension is so thick, you could probably cut it with a basketball.
These ladies, and I'm a WNBA fan.
It's been a good season.
They cannot have fucked this Caitlin Clark thing up any worse if they tried.
Swoops had no idea that her words were about to bring serious consequences. You'd assume a Hall of Famer would be beyond reproach, right? But what unfolded next turned everything upside down.
It doesn't even make any sense. Like, not even a nod to Caitlin Clark, not even saying like Caitlin Clark's playing well or Caitlin Clark's leading the team. You don't even have to be that complimentary, but leaving her out completely when she is the #1 component of that Indiana Fever team and has also been playing a lot better post this Olympic break than she was before, to completely leave her out, it's so weird.
The moment Swoops made her comments about Caitlin Clark, it was like throwing a match into a pile of fireworks. Social media exploded. Fans, athletes, and even basketball legends rushed to Clark's defense faster than you can say free throw. It wasn't just a simple disagreement. It turned into a full-blown verbal smackdown. People accused Swoops of being jealous, like she couldn't handle someone else stealing the spotlight. Even Nancy Lieberman chimed in, saying Swoops wasn't giving Clark the credit she deserved, as if Swoops had forgotten that passing the ball is just as important as shooting it.
If you got people in a room, if you got a bunch of dudes in a room and says, let's fuck up the WNBA, we couldn't have came up a master plan what these women have done.
Swoops tried to explain her position on Twitter, stating that she was entitled to speak about players she personally knew. However, her comments seemed to fuel the controversy even more. Then, in a surprising turn of events, the WNBA decided to replace her for an upcoming game, choosing Ron Thulin and Nancy Lieberman instead. This decision clearly signaled that the league doubted Swoops' ability to remain neutral when discussing Caitlin Clark.
She continues to hate on Caitlin Clark, and it's basically pushing the narrative that the media and other players in the WNBA and people in general are just hating on Caitlin Clark when there seems to be no reason why. So when you start to try to figure out the reasoning, all you can think of is maybe they're jealous, maybe they think it should have been them, that maybe they don't like how much praise Caitlin Clark is getting.
This wasn't just about one game, it was a career plot twist for Swoops as a commentator. Imagine the WNBA rolling up their sleeves and saying, "Yeah, we're not letting anyone, even if you've got Hall of Fame status, mess with our up-and-coming stars." Bold, right? You might be thinking, why make such a dramatic move? Well, it's all about ensuring the future of the game. Caitlin Clark isn't your average player. She's like a magnet for new fans. The WNBA couldn't risk anyone throwing shade on her vibe. They basically said, not today, not ever.
Essentially, like, you're employed by the WNBA. Everything that you're doing is around the WNBA. It's not a good look. And it's especially not a good look because you are a legendary player yourself. Before all of this, I was a Sheryl Swoops fan. I feel like any player growing up in the 90s, early 2000s, like Sheryl Swoops, Lisa Leslie, those women were like the gold standard of basketball. So it's just so weird to me for her to just be hating. Like, there's no other way to describe it as she's just like clearly hating on Caitlin Clark.
This situation shows how serious things have become in women's basketball. Every word and action is closely watched, and even a small mistake can leave a well-known player on the sidelines.
This girl is incredible. What she did in college for women's basketball, what she's doing in the WNBA.
She turned the Fever, were 1-8. They have a winning record now.
The number of attention, eyeballs she's brought to college and the pros. And for these women to have this petty jealousness.
The WNBA isn't just about legends like Swoops and Clark anymore. It's about the whole league, past and present. The tricky part, balancing admiration for the icons with cheering on the rising stars. It's like trying to walk a tightrope while juggling flaming basketballs, and while Swoops just dropped one.
You say to yourself, damn, what is going on here? And
well, you got accused of that stuff too, with the older players being resentful of the new generation. It's kind of part of the basketball process. Everybody thinks their generation's the best.
No. Anytime we say something about guys, it ain't the old get off my lawn guy.
Yeah.
But the stuff toward her is petty and jealous.
This story isn't over yet. Just when it seemed like everything had already happened, someone else spoke up, and she didn't hold back at all.
So Stephen A. Smith called her out, and she clapped back on Twitter, and she said, "You talk about whomever and whatever you want on your podcast, correct? So why can't I? Also, did you listen to the entire episode? Nope. I have a personal relationship with these players, and they deserve recognition as well."
Here's how Stephen responded to her.
And we also write about the fact that there's been some haterade being thrown in her direction. Okay? Because there's no excuse to have resentment towards her.
Then she doubled down and she said, "Do you talk about them or others in the league and give them their props? I really hope y'all take all of this energy to the polls and vote." What? Vote? On what? Like, it's so weird to then, I don't know. It's just like, I'm speechless.
While Swoops might be causing a full court press on our sanity, you have to wonder, why would a former NBA 2K TV host risk her own MVP status to stand up for Caitlin Clark? Buckle up, basketball fans. The answer might just dribble past your ex. She asked why some old school legends act like new talent is a threat, rather than a chance to pass on their wisdom. It was like DeMita held up a big reflective mirror to the whole basketball world and said, "Take a good look, folks."
But she is a big voice in the WNBA, and so for her to be perpetuating and not shutting down the fact that she just clearly hates Caitlin Clark is, I don't know, I've said it a million times, weird. And Sheryl Swoops seemingly disliking Caitlin Clark hasn't just happened in the past couple months. This actually dates way back to when Caitlin Clark beat the NCAA scoring record for both the men and the women.
When DeMita dropped her comments, It was like she lit the fuse on social media's fireworks display. Platforms exploded with fans and players alike, giving her virtual high fives and standing ovations. Some crowned her the Queen of Courage for speaking up, while others chuckled, saying she just blurted out what everyone else was thinking, but didn't dare post.
She said that Caitlin Clark is a 25-year-old beating up on young kids, which she is currently 22. She said that Caitlin Clark takes about 40 shots per game, but Caitlin Clark had 22.3 field goal attempts for just this past season at Iowa, and she had 19.7 for her entire career at Iowa, while actually Sheryl Swoops averaged 24.9 shots per game in her 2 years at Texas Tech. The last thing that she had to say about her was that the all-time Division I scoring record that Clark broke isn't legitimate because she had a 5th year of eligibility due to COVID-19.
Not everyone was on DeMita's side. Some folks took issue, accusing her of having no respect for the long-standing traditions of women's basketball. They argued she was clueless about the sport's rich history. This set off a heated debate with DeMita right in the middle, like a referee in a full-contact game. So what made DeMita's words so impactful? It wasn't just about Caitlin Clark. DeMita's comments opened up a much bigger can of worms. She was tackling the eternal tug-of-war between honoring the past and looking to the future. Her passionate defense of Clark didn't just support one player. It shone a spotlight on a larger issue in women's sports, how we talk about and treat rising stars. It was as if DeMita pulled back the curtain and made everyone take a long, hard look at how we value young talent in women's basketball. In short, she made us question whether we're really giving our up-and-comers the respect they deserve, or if we're just stuck in the past. That's a wrap on the WNBA's latest controversy. Sheryl Swoops gets benched, Caitlin Clark keeps soaring, and Rachel DeMita isn't holding back. What's your take on this hoopla? Drop your comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, like and subscribe for all the latest updates and hot takes on women's basketball. Hit that notification bell to stay in the loop. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more.